Hello to all CineMaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. The film begins with Wei sitting and drawing a flower when her father, Sean, comes in and tells her that the flower is called the corpse flower, known for its terrible smell. Its unpleasant odor attracts flies, which it feeds on. We learn that her father is a scientist, and they spend a lot of time together in the lab as he works on an invention to cure the deformity on both his face and Wei's face. One day, Sean successfully invents a cure and tests it on a piece of skin. He then attaches the skin to the deformed part of his face. The skin integrates with his own, and the deformity is healed. However, the experiment goes wrong suddenly, and the patch of skin starts expanding and covering his mouth. Sean tries to find a solution but fails. Desperate, he uses a scalpel to try and cut it off, but he can't remove the skin and ends up stabbing himself repeatedly. Wei tries to help him but accidentally kills him. Years pass, and Wei grows up to be a 15-year-old teenager. Like her father, she becomes interested in anatomy and is shown dissecting a large collection of butterflies, swapping their wings to create perfect specimens. It becomes evident that she is obsessed with perfection and constantly searches for a cure for her facial deformity. Wei overhears her relatives talking about her, calling her strange and saying she should live with her Aunt Ling. We learn that Wei has been bullied her entire life and is called the monster because of the deformity on her face. This is why she always wears a scarf to hide it. A few days later, Wei moves to live with her Aunt Ling, who tells her she has a daughter around Wei's age named Angela. Ling assures Wei that they will get along well and even attend the same school. She encourages Wei to study and become a scientist like her father or work with her in the cosmetics industry. After they settle in, Ling introduces Wei to their neighbor Cheryl, who dislikes noise and loud sounds. Wei also meets Angela, who is clearly annoyed by Wei's presence because her mother constantly compares her to Wei. Ling asks Angela to learn Chinese from Wei, but Wei tells her she also speaks English and will talk to Angela in the language she prefers. Later, Wei overhears Angela telling her father that she wants to leave the house because she feels uncomfortable with Wei around. That night, Wei looks at a picture of her father and tells him that tomorrow is her first day at university. The next day, on her way to university, Wei sees a beggar with a deformed face. She feels sorry for him, stops to talk, and learns his name is John. Later, she attends a lecture by Dr. Paul, who hands out the morning exam results. While students expect Eva to have the highest grade, they are surprised to find Wei scored perfectly, making them jealous and labeling her as strange. Paul announces that he needs assistance for his lab, and Wei seizes the opportunity. When she visits the lab, she notices Paul is working on research similar to her father's. She opens her father's notebook and compares his research to Paul's. Paul catches her and scolds her for ruining his experiment. But Wei explains she didn't mean to and was surprised to see him working on her father's research. She shows him her father's notebook and explains that her father was a scientist trying to fix his facial deformity. Paul allows her to work as his assistant. Meanwhile, Angela invites Eva and Jess, her friends, to her house. They are surprised to find a memorial for Wei's father, which Ling created to make Wei feel welcome. Eva suggests they sneak into Wei's room and look through her belongings. They find her dissection tools, get scared, and are convinced she's strange. While they're watching a movie, Wei suddenly appears, feeling embarrassed by their behavior. Angela introduces her friends to Wei, who is happy and sits with them to eat, but they are disgusted and leave. The next day, Paul receives an email saying he has 2 weeks to submit his research or lose funding. He becomes stressed. Meanwhile, Angela, Eva, and Jess are together, and Wei watches them, trying to mimic their behavior. She wants to talk to them and befriend them, so she invites them to eat Chinese food. They go with her, but Angela feels jealous, thinking Wei will steal her friends. Angela treats Wei poorly, refuses to eat her food, mocks her eating habits, and leaves with the others. Jess is the only one who says something kind to Wei, but Wei is still hurt. She takes the food to John, feeling he is like her, and talks to him, asking if she is ugly. John tells her she is beautiful and that people are the real monsters. He advises her not to listen to others and to trust herself. Later, Paul surprises Wei by allowing her to use his lab to continue her father's research. It becomes clear that Paul wants to exploit Wei and her father's work. He drives her home, and when she enters, she hears swing. And when she enters, she hears Angela with her boyfriend Josh. Wei peeks through the door, and when Angela notices, she sends Josh away and fights with Wei, accusing her of spying. Angela insults Wei's appearance, calling her scary, and says she doesn't want her in the house, almost kicking her out. Wei is deeply hurt, cries, and believes Angela treats her badly because she is deformed and not beautiful. Determined, Wei decides to continue her research with Paul to pick up where her father left off. She tells Paul her father's research lacked the material to bind tissues together, which caused the experiment to fail and led to his death. Wei and Paul search for an alternative material, and Wei conducts numerous experiments on chicken skin, but all fail. At the same time, it is revealed that Paul is romantically involved with Eva. Wei becomes so engrossed in her research that she stops sleeping and talks to her father's photo, asking for guidance. One day, Jess visits the lab looking for work. Wei assumes Jess wants to steal her research, especially since Paul allowed Jess to work there. However, Jess proves to be kind and tries to befriend Wei, telling her she is beautiful and doesn't need to wear the scarf. Later, Wei notices a poster of the flower, and she remembers her old drawing. The secret might be in the corpse flower, as the flower secretes an organic liquid. This liquid is what they will use to bind tissues. That's why she decides to go to a nursery and steal the liquid secreted by the flower. She actually uses it in one of her experiments, and it succeeds. At the same time, Paul is with Eva in his office and hears a sound coming from the lab. He sees Wei conducting the experiment on herself, and he rushes to find out the result. At that moment, Eva takes advantage of the situation and photographs them together. She sends the photo to Angela to expose her and tarnish her reputation. Meanwhile, Paul notices that she forgot her father's notebook and asks a colleague to translate it for him because he plans to steal all her father's research. When Angela returns home, she is furious because of the photo and starts looking for Wei but can't find her. She calls her mother and tells her to come home immediately because Wei is ruining her life and will expose her among her friends due to her bad reputation. When Wei comes home, she is shocked to find Angela has destroyed her father's memorial. Wei gets upset, cries, and asks Angela why she hates her so much. Angela replies that she hates her because she is a deformed and strange being. Angela grabs her and tries to strangle her. At that moment, Wei defends herself and stabs Angela in the eye, killing her. At the same time, Aunt Ling is about to return home. Wei is shocked by what she has done, as she unintentionally killed her cousin. But she composes herself, drags Angela's body to the bathroom, and decides to steal her face. She tells herself she doesn't have to live with her ugly face anymore. She takes out a scalpel, cuts her own face, and also cuts Angela's face. She injects it with the strange substance she extracted from the flower and attaches Angela's face to hers. Suddenly, she looks exactly like Angela and decides to live as Angela. She watches videos of Angela to learn how to talk like her. She hides Angela's body under the bed and starts acting as if she is Angela. Even Ling doesn't realize that this isn't her daughter and hugs her. The next day, she goes to school, and no one notices she isn't Angela. Even Josh, Angela's boyfriend, doesn't notice. Of course, Wei is thrilled because she has taken over Angela's life. However, she faces a problem. Angela is a basketball star, but Wei doesn't know how to play. So she breaks her finger to avoid the match. Later, she hangs out with Eva and Jess, acting as if she's Angela, and no one notices the difference. After a while, Josh arrives and takes her out. When he gets close to her, he notices her face starting to fall apart. He panics and runs away, but tragically falls off a cliff and dies. At that moment, Wei takes Angela's face and quickly returns home. She searches for her father's notebook but can't find it. She sends a message to Paul asking if he has seen the notebook. Then, she tries to inject Angela's face with the substance again and reattaches it to her own face. Meanwhile, Paul manages to find the flower Wei used and extracts the liquid, gaining access to all of Wei and her father's research secrets. On the other hand, Wei is in Paul's office searching for her father's notebook and discovers that Paul has stolen her father's research. She calls him and argues with him, but Paul tells her she has no evidence to prove her claim. During this time, she sees Eva waiting for Paul and tells herself it's time to use a prettier face. It becomes clear that she has become obsessed with beauty and considers killing Eva to take her face. She asks Eva to give her a ride home, still wearing Angela's. Зрение все еще носит лицо Angeli. During the ride, she gives Eva creepy looks, envious of her beauty. When they reach the house, Eva refuses to go inside, saying she has homework to do. Wei notices that Angela's face is no longer effective. It starts to deteriorate, and her face breaks out in pimples. She tries to inject herself with the substance again, but it doesn't work. The next day, she goes out with Eva, as Eva buys a dress, and Wei discovers Eva is in a relationship with Dr. Paul and bought the dress to impress him. Wei tells Eva she is very beautiful and decides to kill her to live with her beautiful face and take advantage of her relationship with Paul to find her father's notebook. She lures Eva to her house. Eva becomes scared of Wei's strange behavior and wants to leave, but Wei tells her she wants to show her something important. She takes her to her room, looks at her creepily, and tries to hit her on the head. Eva escapes outside, but Wei chases her. The dog barks loudly, drawing the attention of their neighbor Cheryl. Before Cheryl can see what's happening, Wei kills Eva in the swimming pool and takes her body to the bathroom. She looks at Eva's body and tells herself she will finally be the prettiest girl in school. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door, and it's Cheryl. Wei opens the door slightly and apologizes for the noise caused by the dog. We then see Wei cutting off Angela's face, which she had been wearing, and attaching Eva's face instead. She also wears green contact lenses, becoming an exact replica of Eva. She decides to live as Eva. As usual, she watches videos of Eva to mimic her mannerisms so Paul won't suspect anything. She holds a picture of her father and tells him she succeeded and completed his experiment. She tells him she is now beautiful. Suddenly, the police arrive, asking about Angela, as she was the last person seen with Josh before he died. Wei, pretending to be Eva, tells them she doesn't know where Angela is. Later, she goes to university and no one notices she has changed. Even Jess talks to her as if she's Eva and asks about Angela, who has been missing for a while, and no one knows anything about her. However, Jess is surprised by Eva's reaction because she yells at her and tells her that she no longer loves Angela and doesn't want to hear any news about her. After that, she goes to Paul's house, who treats her like she is Eva and wants to get close to her. She decides to do this so that he not suspect her and can reach to her father's diary. After a while, she decides to cut up Eva's body and put it in the refrigerator so that if she needs to skin it later, as for Angela's body, she decides to bury it. At this time, she hears chaos and the dog barking for the second time. At that time, Wei comes out to her and tells her that it is Angela's friend, Eva, and apologizes to her for the second time for the barking caused by the dog. Then she gives the dog Eva's arm to eat it, and she sends a message to her Aunt Ling. From Angela's phone, she tells her that she is going on a trip with her friends, and she sends the same message to Eva's family. Then she decides to publish the picture that Eva took. This leads to Paul being fired from his job. She goes to his house to console him, but he kicks her out. With no other choice, Paul decides to work on experiments until he discovers the secret formula. He finally succeeds and sends a message to Eva, Wei, to come over because he wants to celebrate. Wei takes advantage of the opportunity to search for her father's notebook. She finds the formula Paul created and notices her face starting to deteriorate again. She takes the formula and leaves quickly. Paul later discovers the formula is missing and assumes Eva stole it. Meanwhile, Wei cuts off Eva's face and cries because the experiment failed. She realizes that any face she wears doesn't last long and deteriorates. Meanwhile, Jess arrives and greets her and asks what she is doing, and we see Jess is the only one who really loves her and wants to be her friend, and she comes and tells her that she will help her. But as soon as she opens the refrigerator, she trembles, and this is because she sees Eva's body in pieces. So she starts to attack her, strangles her, and gets upset because she really loved Jess. After a while, Paul arrives at Wei's house. He noticed that Eva's car is outside, so he decides to break into the house. He sees what Wei has done and asks about Eva, finding out that she killed her. He becomes terrified of Wei and her brutality but admires her invention and thinks about stealing it. He tells her to give him the formula, and he won't tell anyone about her crime. She tells him the formula is in the fridge. Of course, he is horrified when he opens the fridge and finds Eva's body. At that moment, Wei attacks him and injects him with a poisonous formula, the same one that killed her father. She starts dancing beside him, watching as his skin begins to dissolve. Zrenia, watching as his skin begins to dissolve. Before his mouth completely closes, she places a breathing tube to keep him alive longer so she can watch him suffer. She tells him, "I know you were greedy for my father's knowledge, and that's why I decided to kill you just like him." Indeed, his mouth, nostrils, and even his eyes close completely. He tries to scream, but no one can hear him because of the loud music. Due to the loud music, Cheryl arrives and sees what happened. She quickly runs to inform the police. At that moment, Wei escapes the scene, running down the street with the formula. She goes to John, who hugs her and hides her from the police. During this time, the formula bottle breaks, mixing her skin with John's. She ends up living disfigured forever. Later, the police announce the discovery of 3 bodies. We learn that Paul didn't die, but lived his whole life disfigured. As for Ling, she becomes depressed and is always drunk after learning what happened to her daughter. She keeps searching for Wei everywhere. When she finally sees Wei disfigured, she becomes terrified, runs away, and leaves her. Wei continues her life disfigured and homeless on the streets. And with that, today's movie ends. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video.